We are live right now. Hello, everyone. Let me turn my volume up. Let me do that. That will actually help so that y'all could hear me and I can hear myself. But hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 180. I know. I was gone last week. I told y'all I was getting on here, but I was living my best life in New York. Okay, so give me a little break. Give me a little break. But tonight is just me talking to y'all. So we're just gonna wait for a couple of people to come in. But yeah, it's just me tonight. Tonight I just felt like Yahuwah was telling me it's time to free myself. It's time to, share my testimony, what's going on, and all those different things. So yeah, but I hope everyone is having a great day, great night, great Sunday for those of you who are watching it on now, but also those of you who are rewatching. Hope you're still having a great day, okay? But for those of you, I feel like I always forget to introduce myself. For those of you who do not know me, I am Jasmine Fain. I am a prophet, a speaker, founder. I'm trying to think, purpose-based business, advocate, consultant, but I wear so many titles, right? But most importantly, I like to label it as I'm a world changer. So that's me. This is the 180 where we share how Yahuwah, God, has flipped our lives upside down. And tonight I'm just going to be a living testimony as to how he has flipped my life upside down within like the past 3 years. 3 years. But most importantly, let me go. So every week I share the values on here of the 180 just to keep us in line, keep us in check, so that we just have a basis to stand on. We know what we're coming in here for, right? And so first and foremost, the first value is I want everybody to understand on here that everyone on here is Yahuwah sent, meaning God sent. I'm not just on here for show or to be flashy or anything. No, if I'm on here by myself, it's probably because he told me to be on here by myself. If I'm trying to think, if there's a guest on here and I asked them, I was more than likely led to ask them. If they said yes, they said yes, and all that good stuff. So yeah. And then second, I just want you to keep an open mind for whoever's on here, or if I'm sharing something, just keep an open mind. Know that we all have something to share. We all are being open-minded. We all have different experiences. So that is just that. And then the third is, I always pose this question before, but it's definitely going to make more sense after, but I pose it before and after. And the third value that we have is, how will you react and change? How will you, I would say, be different in your perspective of another person? And I'm reading those, guys. I read those every week. Of another person when you realize that their story is additional to the books of the Bible. So again, posing that question of how will you react / change your perspective of another person when you realize their story is in addition to the books of the Bible. But most importantly, that through your testimony, through my testimony, through a person's testimony, that you are able to hear that Yahuwah, God, is still writing scripture. It just didn't stop with the 66 books of the Bible. It didn't stop with Revelation, but that your life, my life, is literally present day scripture being written, that when we all go up to heaven, we will be able to read, or before that our kids and generations after us, as we share these testimonies, as we write down our stories, as we journal about them, as we be witnesses to other people, that these generations in the future are able to, read the scripture in our lives, read the testimonies. But enough of the values. Those are our three values here at the 180, how Yahuwah, God, is flipping our lives upside down. But today I am finally full out sharing my testimony of what in the world has been going on for the past 3 years of my life, because I feel like it's been up and down and here and there, but just sharing all that. So bear with me if there's a lot of emotions for today. I feel like I've shared pieces in little episodes here and there in the past couple of episodes. Before I go on to me, watch all the past episodes because those are amazing testimonies. But I've shared pieces here and there for those who are close to me, a tiny bit, a little bit. For those who are my family, my close friends, my parents, what I've been through in the past 3 years. But this is just me finally sharing. So it's where do where does like my testimony start? Let's think about that. I don't want to take it all the way back to childhood because we can be on here for like three hours straight if I go through my whole lifespan history. But what I can really hone it back to, from what I can remember, like, you know how you feel like there was a bottom that you were at and then you were like climbing to the mountaintop and you feel like you're at the mountaintop now? Well, my bottom was was it junior or senior year of college at, hey Allie. But it was my junior and senior year of college, right? I can't remember exactly what, because it's all like, it all meshed together. But I believe, yeah, it was my junior year of college at OSU, and I got into a situationship in which I will go back. I had a crush on someone, and I had like this span of this summer where I was like, this person is the one. And it was also a summer where Yahuwah was really blessing me to be in my purpose. And so at that time, again, being a prophet but not knowing you're fully a prophet and having the gifts, I really confused my gift of seeing and being a prophet and knowing someone struggles with love, right? And love and lust and all those things. So like, imagine all of that like combining together, and you're thinking, this person is the one, I love this person, oh my goodness, right? And so ended up not being that, completely heartbroken. And so going into my junior year of college, I was really just angry at Yahuwah. I felt like that my love life had been robbed, that I was never going to be in a relationship, and that he was like dangling, love in front of me, all of those good things. And so I prefaced that, and like I said, my childhood was very much filled with, I would say there was this overarching theme that the spirit of lying was always telling me of, you're not good enough, you're not woman enough, you will never be loved, right? And that came from many different touch points, from my parents, from schooling, different touch points, being like quote unquote the big child, like growing up, so many touch points like that came in, right? Liking people in junior high and stuff, like I said, it's so like I can go through my whole childhood, but like we're gonna condense this for now. And so reached that point, and that was like the gateway for the spirit of lying to kind of like present this beautiful option in front of me that kind of led to me hitting rock bottom, to be quite honest. And so I'm upset at Yahuwah, and like to the point, like I said, I feel like he's dangling love in front of me, but I don't quite understand why he just won't give it to me. And so it was my junior year, and like I said, I can see clearly now that the spirit of lying was like presenting this option to me, and it was through a situationship. I ain't gonna say relationship, it was situationship. And at that time, it satisfied and fulfilled everything that I was longing for within myself, right? And so going through this situationship, going through the motions of this, I knew it was spiritual, not like you know how you know some things, but then you don't know some things because you're not like fully spiritually mature yet. I knew something was off because this person became verbally abusive to my purpose. They became like spiritually abusive too. That's like, something is off. The things he said just attacked who I was to my core nature, like my purpose. Like I think back on the things now, I'm like, how did he know that? But it's like spirits be knowing, like they be knowing, right? And so I just like deteriorated. I was binge drinking heavily. I actually ended up in the ER. Well, not ER, ambulance. I had an ambulance call because I had drunk a whole bottle of wine and literally started having heart palpitations, which I found out was severe like acid reflux, which I still have to this day because of that moment. So ER call, I keep saying ER, ambulance calls, just out here wilding. Actually for me, that situationship going back a little bit to my childhood, I've always dealt, and now I understand, from generational curses with a pornography and masturbation addiction. Oh my gosh, that's my first time saying this ever to anybody, but like, we're testifying. And so with dealing with that addiction, it's like it went dormant once I left junior high, and I was like, good. And then once I got back into this situationship, I relapsed in that addiction. But by the grace of Yahuwah, him leading me to Transformation Church and all that, which I will talk about in a little bit. But that was like a pivotal moment in me hitting rock bottom. So like, I got into this situationship. I've relapsed from addictions. I'm binge drinking at this point. I'm doing drugs, smoking weed, not no heavy drugs, but I'm smoking weed heavily at this point to just cope with life, pretty much. I literally hit rock bottom so badly. I went to this conference for Black leaders at our school, and I remember I started like seeing like black shadows, like spirits, demons, y'all. And I remember like seeing, like, we were in our hotel room, and like I started seeing it in the corner, and I was just like, that ain't supposed to be there, right? Like that ain't supposed to be there. And I remember like asking my roommates, like, hey, like, do y'all get woken up at like 3-4 in the morning every single night and see this black shadow? And they're like, no. And so it kept consistently happening at this conference. Like, and again, I was wilding, I was out there, I was doing some things I ain't supposed to be doing. And so like, I'm consistently like being woken up at like 3-4 in the morning, and then I see like this shadow, and I'm like, I know I'm not going. And you like, when you start getting scared, you like turn on the iPhone flashlight. You're like, and then I turn it back off, and I'm like, it's still there. And then like I turn the light on, and I turn it back off, and I'm like, it's still there. And so at that point, I would say was like consciously when I knew, oh, I'm deep. Like, I'm so deep that like I am starting to for real see these spirits and the demons that I'm dipping and dabbling with at this point. And so for me, it just simply started with like driving every week to go to Transformation Church. For those of you, Pastor Mike Todd in Tulsa. And so I don't remember a moment, or no, let me go back a little bit. So I do remember a moment. I was like, how can I not forget that? So my like moment to like started this whole journey that I'm here right now on was when I don't know what was happening that day, but we have like our student organizations, because I was heavily involved in student organization, all of those things, and we have like cubicles, like offices. And so I was in the office, and I had just found out that my father was getting remarried. Like I said, I can go back to my childhood, but let's just say that is not a rare occurrence. Let me just put it like that. And so for me, I was at a point where I felt like I had finally had a stable foundation with my father without any women involved, anything. Like, he was my dad. And so finding out he was getting remarried in my mind was shattering my whole worldview. Already I'm back with a pornography and masturbation addiction. I'm binge drinking. I'm miserable. At that point, because of soul ties, I was extremely depressed. I had suicidal ideation. It was just like rock bottom. So like, that was like, if anything was like the last straw, like if anything I was holding on like hope to was like, well, at least this is the thing I can control, is like I have a decent or facade relationship with my father that's better than what I've had, and not better than what I've had my whole life, because that's definitely like not true, but like the facade of everything. And so when I found that out, I remember sitting in our cubicle, and like I known the news, but it was just like I was slowly just breaking down and breaking down and breaking down and breaking down. And I was just sitting there, and I had talked to some of my friends. They had been with me in the cubicle all day, and everybody had left, and it was just me sitting with my thoughts. And I just, like, I can remember so clearly, like, I'm back in that moment. I was just sitting there, and like, I was just like, I gotta do something. Like, I'm thinking about my dad. I'm thinking about everything I'm going through. And I remember I just like started crying, like bawling, crying. And the only thing I knew to do was run upstairs. Our campus had a counseling office. And so only thing I knew to do was to run upstairs and go tell someone I needed help to book a counseling appointment. And like, I can remember so clearly, like running from those cubicles, running to the elevator, trying not to show people I'm upset because like everybody's, it's our like student union, so everybody's there. And, getting in the elevator, just going into the office and just bawling, booking an appointment. And I couldn't get in that day, but eventually I did talk to a counselor, and I'm just like teared up, admitting to her everything that's like been going on in my life and childhood and how I'm feeling. And I would say, like, I always tell myself that's the day I started running. And like so many things has happened in the past 3 years in me just running. Where do I start? Like I said, going back, my first step or continuing to run was to continue to go to Transformation Church every Sunday with a group of friends and just go. And I remember there was one sermon I forgot that Pastor Todd preached. He's preached so many at this point. And he was talking about like the confessing of sins. For me, I had never told people about like my masturbation and pornography addiction. Except for like my mom when I was younger, but by that point it seemed like, oh, it had died down, this and that. And Pastor Todd sharing his testimony of dealing with the same thing, it really resonated with me of like, oh my gosh, like we can actually admit this, I don't want to be like this, we can admit this, like we can talk about this. And so it really stirred my heart. And I remember Yahuwah just telling me, like, you need to confess this, like you need to tell somebody. And so that Sunday, either it was that Sunday or days, I can't remember clearly, days after, I remember telling a close friend of mine at the time of like, hey, like this is this addiction I've been going through. And it was like a weight being lifted off. And like going every Sunday, driving to Tulsa, which was like an hour away from my campus, just going and going, taking one step at a time. And finally it was, I forget what they call it, but like the baptism Sunday. And I remember like weeks before Yahuwah telling me that like you need to go get rebaptized. And I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? And he's like, you need to confess like everything that you've been going through too. And so, I signed up to get baptized, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm about to do this. I have a video, and one day I will post it, but I was not happy whatsoever. Like you look at my face, you would think like, oh, I just got baptized, I should be crying tears of joy. Like, no, because even though I had got baptized, like you was like, you still need to get on that microphone and confess like what's going on. So I'm nervous. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness. So like, if you, like I said, I'll post it one day sharing this testimony, but like if you see like me getting dipped, I look angry coming out the water because I'm like scared to death. And so got baptized, rebaptized, and did in front of everybody, got on the microphone, confessed my sin, told them, and thank Transformation Pastor Todd for everything that they had done for me. And then, graduated college and life moved on. And I would say a little bit, I can't remember if it was before baptism or after baptism, again, in Transformation Church. And I remember my mom was actually visiting me that Sunday, and we went to Transformation Church, and Yahuwah was telling me like I needed to start the business he had been putting on my heart from an assignment that I had made in one of my classes. And I'm thinking, I'm about to graduate. I'm about to go get a good job. I'm not about to start no business plan. That was a class assignment, right? And so I remember again, being called to the altar, weeping, because he had been telling me this for months at this point, just months of telling me this. And I remember going to the altar call, and this lady, I can't remember her name, but she was praying for me. I'm just confessing yeah, he's been telling me I need to start this business, this is and that, all of this. And so, after graduation, I didn't start the business. I didn't. I decided that I wanted to take a safe job and just go and be a grant writer because that's what I had gotten my degree in. And so I took a safe job pretty much. And I was absolutely miserable to the point I can't tell you if it was spiritual or if it was just stress. I don't know. That's something that like I'm not gonna be put out here and be like, yeah, it was. Like, no, I don't know what that was, but I definitely know that I became so stressed in that job that literally like I started to like my vision started to blur. Like I was so stressed, like water started going behind my eyes. Like every time I would sleep, it's like I wouldn't get enough rest. I was completely exhausted, and all of that. And so, yeah, I went to a conference with a friend. And again, I still have this business plan. And I'm like, okay, like, what am I going to do with this? I had been shaping and forming it and redoing it. And I remember meeting people there that just helped me to launch it. And that's how I started Empower You, as you all know. But during this time, this is like what's been happening in my life for the span of 3 years. Empower You has been like the grounding point to a stepping stone to my purpose. It has kept me sane for like the past 3 years, pretty much. I literally, during this time, sacrificed my whole life to learn to be obedient and follow after the purpose of Yahuwah. And just going back to like my struggles and all of that, like during this time of like building Empower You, like Yahuwah is definitely working on me in phases. Shortly after graduating, he allowed me to go to Cape Town, South Africa, as many of you all know. And it's funny, I look like how I looked when I was in that moment. But in the midst, like I built Empower You in 3 months. And then like a month later, I flew out to Cape Town, South Africa. And so in my head, I knew that Cape Town was like a journey to like starting to climb this mountain of I have to deal with everything, right? And so for me, I thought it was going to be me sitting on, if you know Cape Town, you know Table Mountain. I thought it was going to be me taking beautiful hikes and having kumbaya moments with Yahuwah and everything. No, it was not like that. It was not like that. It was not like that. Literally, like Cape Town was so hard for me because I remember I was like 1.5, 2 months in, and I'm working this internship and I'm doing good. And I remember him telling me, I can remember I was coming off the elevator, going into our office, and he was like, I'm showing you, I'm showing you the weight of every generational curse that you have felt, but also that was like before me, like generations before me that has ever been there. And I'm thinking like, oh, that's heavy, because I had been feeling heavy that day, and like from there on, like the heaviness did not stop. It was a constant, like when I say a constant fighting for myself. And one of those generational curses that has constantly plagued me since I was I remember like a teenager when it came on was the feelings of like just homosexuality and thinking like my brain and like spirits trying to convince me that I like the opposite sex, which I will say that has never been me. Like that is never, if you know me, that has never been me. But I remember like when I was a teenager, when it started to come on, and it would like thoughts. And then literally when I was in Cape Town, when after Yahuwah said like you will feel the weight of every generational curse, you will feel the weight of everything that has ever like pretty much been added to my lineage, has been that I added to my lineage. He was like, you're gonna feel the weight of all of that. And that was the first thing that came on. I remember going on this wine tour and like it just hit. And it hit so badly that it drove me to madness. Like, it was like the thought was there constantly 24/7, to the point it drove me so much to madness that I was like, Yahuwah, I gotta go to church. I was like, I need to be surrounded in your presence. And in Cape Town, like, kid you not, like, yet, like, I'm still having, even though, like, I've been baptized and all of that stuff, like, I'm still smoking weed 24/7. I'm going out and drinking every weekend, pretty much. Like, those behaviors didn't change automatically just because I got baptized. It probably worsened in Cape Town, to be honest. And so literally, like, him putting the weight of all the generational curses on me, and then like me feeling like I was being driven to madness by this thought of homosexuality. I was like, I gotta find a church. I was like, I gotta do something. And so, I'm Googling, and I found out that Hillsong had a church in, where was it? Well, it was in Cape Town, but it was like 30-minute Uber ride. And so I was like, I gotta go. I was like, I'm being driven to madness right now. Like, I have to go. I'm heavy. This is on my mind 24/7, right? And so I remember, like, one Sunday, I was like, I gotta go save myself. Like, I just have to. I gotta go be in the presence of Yahuwah. And I took an Uber ride, which, like, taking an Uber ride as a woman by yourself in Cape Town is a little risky. It's a little risky, but I was like, I need to be in the presence of my Father right now. And so I remember, like, taking that Uber ride and, like, showing up to Hillsong. And for the first time since, like, everything in college, everything that was, like, being put on me to fight for myself, to fight for my generations, to fight for everything within me, I felt lightness. I felt freedom. I felt the presence of our Father. I felt like I could actually fight for my life and do this. And so ever since then, it has, like, Cape Town was like Cape Town. I came back, and like, I feel like there's been many moments where I've just been running, and not running away from everything, but running towards the light, running up the mountain. I started running when I went to that counseling office at OSU. I continued to fight my demons and run and break the generational curses. Was starting to break the generational curses by running a little bit more up this hill in Cape Town. And when I came back, and Cape Town was, of course, more unlocking purpose and all of that. And I was still building Empower You and doing all of this stuff. And when I came back is when, I'm trying to think, is when I really started to formulate and build Empower You. And Empower You is its own journey in itself. It was like a lesson I needed to learn to do the work that I'm doing now. But like I said earlier, Empower You was the grounding point for me to understand what die hard obedience, no matter what anybody is telling you, to Yahuwah looks like. Many people don't know that for 3+ years, I have made no income. Like, I have not been able to make any income. I have been able to get, like, speaking jobs here and there, but most have been pro bono. And that is not because I can't get a job. I have had many director positions and social impact positions presented to me. But it was always, do I sacrifice what Yahuwah is telling me to do with Empower You? Do I sacrifice what he's telling me to do with the kingdom here? Or do I go run and be comfortable like I've done before? He always would present that to me. And I want to disclaim and say, like, it's not that he has not been providing. That's why I've been at home for 3+ years, because he has literally, in blessings to my mother, been providing for me through her. There's many times I have gone to that prayer closet and been like, Yahuwah, let me make my own stable income. Let me move out. Let me do this. And he's been like, no. And so, yeah, like that has been like my constant plague and struggle. And of course, throughout this whole time, I'm consistently in counseling. I'm consistently fighting these generational curses. I would say not last year because we're in 2023. 2021 ish is really when he started breaking things off of me, especially coming out of Cape Town. Just Cape Town was also really a place for me of questioning who exactly is my Elohim? Who is he? And as he started to reveal himself, that's why I call him Yahuwah, because that's the name he revealed to me. And he's given me confirmation on that. He started to show me the meaning of words and languages and who I was as a person, because these are questions that I was asking him. He just started to give me the blueprint to unlock me being a prophet and to come to you today, right now, to do what I do, right? He showed me which spirits, and that's like on my Instagram page where I talk about like the spirits of error and the spirits of creation. He really had me for like that year fast against each spirit of error, and to really tackle them head on, to like move them out of my life. Like that was when like I can say I broke off generational curses. Like when I fasted against each spirit of error, and I'm talking about water fasting, dry fasting, like fasting. Like that is when like things started being breaking off, like lineage started being changed, generations started being changed for me. I started to feel freedom. I started to look different. I started to lose weight. Diseases that I had developed from soul ties. I don't know if you all have ever noticed, but like I clicked my jaw. I have TMJ still, but that was a disease I developed from a soul tie. I had chronic UTIs, that I have never had problems with my uterus and all of that stuff, my reproductive system. When I developed soul ties and was heavily at my rock bottom in sin, that is what started to happen. I'm trying to think what else. Again, the acid reflux, which I am still dealing with from the binge drinking, that was a result of my sin. So I have things that are still going on as a result of that season, but conquering and fasting and really getting rid of the spirits of error was when I started seeing a turnaround in my life. And so from that point on, I'm still building Empower You. He's calling me to speaking at this point. And I'm like rushing through little things because literally for like, it became very mundane. It became fasting, counseling, listening to Yahuwah, sacrificing everything. And it'll make more sense as I continue on in this story. So like, up until I would say, what has it been? The beginning of 2022, that was my life. Build Empower You, or try to figure out what in the world who is telling me would empower you. Become the person that I needed through counseling, through fasting, through prayer, and repeat. He started to add speaking onto that and social impact opportunities and training purpose-based businesses through that. But that was my like, if anybody's like, what did you do to get yourself out of that like, it was just complete obedience. Like I said, I sacrificed my whole life for like 2.5 years of just, he will sustain me. I'm here. I'm safe. I have income. I have resources. I have insurance. My health is healing. All of these different things. Only thing I had to do was be obedient to like what he was telling me, which figure out, build, empower you, help the people I was supposed to help at the time. Excuse me. Speak when I was told to speak and go out and speak, and go to counseling and fast, pray, heal. Like that was me. And during that time, I would say about 1.5 years ago, he told me like to go to law school. And so that was another thing like added to my plate of like, okay, now go to law school. I'm like, if you ask me, like I wanted to go to law school, but it wasn't something that like I was like, oh yeah, I want to. And truly, if I think back on my college journey. I only wanted to go to law school because Yahuwah started telling me early on that I needed to go to law school. And so by the time it got like a year and a half ago, I just didn't want to do it, to be quite honest. It was literally like, I am doing this because like you're telling me to be obedient. Like I thought about MPA programs, other social impact opportunities. I was just like, I will do anything else. But I was not good at the LSAT, but I was decent. I could analytically think about these things and all of that. And so I applied, got into law school, started that journey. And so for the past like year and a half, I was like waking up, doing Empower You work, which if many of you didn't notice, we like shifted to being people's personal advocates. So I was helping to get people out of evictions, get rental assistance, dealing with people who had criminal records and weren't able to maneuver the system. So, you wake up, do that. Also at the same time, what else was I doing? I feel like that's it. I feel like I was building sometimes my speaking business, but not all the time. Also, this is also where I'm starting to heavily listen to you, heavily listen to you spiritually, but like I'm praying and like dry fasting at this point. So my spiritual life is increasing a lot too. And then I'm trying to think what else. Like I said, speaking, I wasn't really speaking that much in the past year. Empower You, helping these people, prayer and fasting, like listening to Yahuwah, and law school pretty much became a full-time job. And so, excuse me, that was tough on my mental health. And then this past March is when he really started having me be a prophet on media into the world. I didn't know, like I've always known I was a prophet since I was young. But I just didn't know what to call it, or I never labeled myself. And even still to this day, like the way when I say I'm a prophet, I don't view it as the traditional label as everybody else does. I feel like to me it's just finally putting a name to what's been going on in my mind and everything, but March of 2022 was when he had me post my first video of a message he gave me. And you can go on YouTube and watch it. It's still up there. He won't let me delete it, okay? But that was the first time, and I was scared to death. I was like, what are people going to think? And he also had me text like family and friends, and I'm like, these people are going to think I'm crazy. Like they're going to think I just went insane all of a sudden. Like I'm crazy, right? And so, I was obedient. I posted a video. I text people, all of that good stuff. And so my life has literally been a whirlwind from that moment on. Like I said, I didn't announce on social media until like this past summer that like I was a prophet, even though like I was posting like a couple of videos here and there when he let me to post, and telling people in my circle or texting if you got the text and all of that stuff. But it like I was hiding it, like I just wasn't proud to be a prophet. I thought I was crazy, to be quite honest. I thought other people would see me as crazy. I just cared more about the views of what everybody else would think. And I like just people pleasing. Like I've done it my whole life. It's a box I've always lived in. I've just focused on the opinions of other people. And so, I'm trying to think, it was May. Yes, it was May. And I don't even know. Well, I was always going to go to London Tech Week virtually. I was like, Yahuwah, I really want to go to this. I'm just wake up at 3 a.m. to watch all of this. And so it was in May, the early or middle of May, when Yahuwah was like, I need you to go to London. You need me to go where? Like what? Like London across the sea? Like, okay, we're back. Okay, my connection cut out for a little bit. Okay, but what was I talking about? So yeah, middle of May, Yahuwah was like, I need you to go to London. I'm thinking we're in the middle of a pandemic. London's not quite that open. Not that quite that open. I don't think I can get in, right? And so he was like, I need you to go to London. And so I was like, okay, we're going to London. Like that it is what it is. We're going to London. So London, even though on social media it looks like, oh, I'm just having this fun business trip in London. No, it was my first prophetic trip that I would sit on, right? So, I go to London and it's spiritually like completely crazy for me. I'm just hearing and seeing things that I'm not allowed to share yet because it's Yahuwah. I have witnessed things that I was just like, oh my goodness, like I'm for real a prophet. I think that was the first time I accepted, like, I'm for real a prophet. And two, like, oh my goodness, like what in the world is going on? Like what is going on? So came back from London. And as many of you all know, I got delayed in New York. And I always want to preface, like, during this time, again, like, because I have fasted against the spirits of error and Yahuwah, like, everything Yahuwah completely led me to do. I was at a stable point with everything. I had felt the weight lifted off of generational curses. I wasn't dealing with that. The only thing that I was truly dealing with was, excuse me guys, was PMDD, which is like a hormonal balance. But other than that, like I felt like I was at the mountaintop. I was like, we are here. We are about to soar. Like, let's go. Right. And so, left London and got delayed in New York. Like, flight got canceled, got stuck. And I reached out to one of my friends, Aaliyah, who lives in New York. And I was like, girl, I'm stuck, right? And so literally, I remember we were supposed to go to a Maverick City Kingdom pop-up. And the tickets had sold out by 2 a.m. Like, I'm stuck at the airport to 2 a.m. And so they had sold out. And so we just went to her house and she was like, we're going to get in. We'll just sneak you in, this and that. And so woke up that morning and the tickets went back on sale. And so I was like, okay, like we're going, like I got my ticket, we're going. And if I think back, like I look back on the prophetic words I got now and like everything just lines up, And so we go to the Kingdom pop-up tour and I meet who are the people I know now. I meet my friends from C3, right? And so I am like hanging out with them and like I'm exhausted. I had been up for 24 hours and that was the first time I just felt like I had community and I was like, what in the world is going on? Why do I feel like accepted here? Like, why is everything going so good? This in hindsight, everything's supposed to be going bad. Like, I'm stuck in New York. My flight got canceled. I had to buy another flight, this and that. Like, everything's supposed to be like up in the air, up in flames. But like for me, I was completely at peace. I was like, I have somewhere to stay. I have clothes on my back. I have my bag. I'm good. I have food to eat and I'm around good people. Like, I don't know any other way that Yahuwah is not in control of this situation right now. And so, hung out with them, left New York. And then I got called to what I'm calling, but it probably like a marriage process. So when I say that, I really got called to opening up my mind not only about dating but also about being married off, like physically, very soon. If it's shocking for me, right? Because at that point in my life, like, y'all, I've just told y'all everything I went through. Like, I don't got rid of addictions. I am pretty much good. I feel like I'm at my mountaintop. I am enjoying being single. I am for the kingdom. I am great. I just went on my first prophetic mission trip. I'm like, I am happy. I am good. I am feeling like me and you, Yahuwah, we can do this forever. And so it was very shocking when I was sitting at a restaurant one day and, I'm reading my book and I saw this really attractive guy. And this is actually before London, actually, when Yeah, this was before London when Yahuwah told me this story. But this was before London. So I'm sitting in a restaurant, see a really attractive guy, and I just hear the Holy Spirit say dating. I'm like, wait a minute. Who? Okay, it's like who dating, boo? Who dated? And so I was like, I ain't hear that. I ain't hear that. That. I ain't hear that. So, I go back to eating, reading my book, enjoying my solo date time. And I heard it again. I said, okay. And then, like, how you hear the second time and you're like, that's not really it. Maybe it's my conscience. So then, I finished up my meal. I ended up, like, he was a person that I actually ended up, knowing. And so talked to him and then went back to my car, heard it again. I said, oh, you really for real this time. So again, this is in the back of my mind, going to London, all of these different things. And I'll go more to depth when I can go in more to depth with that. So coming from London/New York is when Yahuwah really started to kick up the refinement process to allow another person to come into my life. But not just another person, it was the refinement process to accept love. Because again, going back to the beginning of my story, my whole life, the spirit of lying has kind of like manipulated and put situations in front of me to either make me feel like I was not loved, I was not woman in love, all of these different things. And so that's even why I developed a masturbation and pornography addiction, because when you don't feel loved enough, you feel like you have to please yourself to get the very thing that the spirit of lying is convincing you will never get, which is completely false and not true, right? And so like there's this constant theme throughout my whole life and healing my addictions of constantly fighting this. You are not enough. You're not ever going to be loved by another person. Again, I can recognize why once the spirit saw that I wasn't going to take the whole you're not loved enough, he started throwing in the addictions. He started throwing in the homosexual thoughts. He started throwing in all of these things to convince me that this was the pathway for me. I'm not loved enough. I need to please myself, or I need to have the opposite sex please me. Like that's just, and this is my testimony. This is just how it was. The spirit of lying was manipulating my thoughts and my mind. And so coming into a marriage process, like I said, I've fasted, I've prayed, I've gotten rid of all the generational curses. Like I can confidently say that. There's things that I'm constantly refining on and constantly being aware of. But if we're talking about the heavy hitters, like the spirits of error, them suckers right there can't touch this no more. Okay. And so, now look, don't nobody be like, you have to be like, don't nobody be trying not to just because I said that, but because Jesus, okay. So when Yahuwah's presenting dating to me, I'm like, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable by myself. I'm comfortable in my own skin. Like I'm good, right? And so going into like London and New York, I'm thinking, okay, dating, like he's opening up my heart a little bit more. He's having me fast and pray, this and that and stuff. And so coming out of New York and having to go through a refinement process to actually let love back into your life, to learn how to live and cope and communicate with another person, because that's just something I did not know how to do, to actually express my emotions, to communicate to my parents. Like throughout counseling, I have communicated to my parents how I felt during my childhood, but to constantly dig up old wounds and re-communicate these things and cry and just so many different things. And so So entered into a marriage refining process, as I like to call it. It was like, but that's why I always want to preface, it wasn't just for marriage. It was for love to just interact back into my life. And that love was also purpose for me. The love of my purpose, the love of people, the love of myself, the ability to love another person. That all like accumulated in this, like I said, I'm calling it a marriage process, but all of this, right? And so, in the midst of going through this, Yahuwah, when was it? Before September. What's the month before September, guys? I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But that month before September, it's October, November. Wait, I'm not about to count, but y'all know what I'm talking about. He told me, he was like, you're going to New York again. And again, I'm in law school. And I'm like, Yahuwah, we don't have a break till November. How in the world am I going to go to New York in the middle of law school? And so he made it happen. And thankfully, it was my second prophetic mission that I went on. And he actually called me to go during United Nations Week, which I found out was a part of his bigger plan of my purpose. And I was able to hang out with the same people at C3 again, and actually go to C3, go to find a church community in New York, all of those different things, and just be around like good people that I felt really could see and understand me at what I was going through, right? And so because I would say, and I'll get to that. And so was called to New York a second time. That was my second prophetic mission. Again, seeing crazy things happening, warfare, all of that stuff. And then this recent trip, the reason why I didn't do the 180 last week is because I was called to New York for another time, right? I just got off of my third prophetic mission. But in the span of this, you have let me go back a little bit. You have seen me announce that I was a prophet, start the 180, do so many things on here. And before I go into the second half of this journey, I wanted to preface all of that because that is why I'm making the decisions that I'm making now. For the past 3 years, I've just sacrificed. I didn't make income for the will of the kingdom and for Yahuwah's will. It wasn't my choice. I had no control. I just went to counseling and sacrificed and fasted and prayed and, eventually learned how to conquer the spirits of error, learned who I was, learned deeper who Yahuwah was and everything that he has left behind for us to know. I just literally grasped all of that, and I needed to grasp all of that in the past 3 years. I needed to become the person that I am today to be the person that I am now. Even at the time when I thought I was at my mountaintop, I truly wasn't at my mountaintop. Even though it felt like freedom, I wasn't there until what I feel now. And so leading into all of that and leading into this past week, Yahuwah called me to my third prophetic mission back to New York. And New York was hard. Not only did I get spiritually attacked in a way, literally waking up from my sleep, immediately having suicidal ideation. And like I said, I do not get suicidal ideation, even with having PMDD, that I do not, when I say it is not, I know myself, I do not get suicidal ideation. I remember taking a nap that day, and I had been feeling a lot, which I will reveal more about marriage process and all that stuff when I can. But I remember just being heavy the day before, talking to one of my best friends, Kia, having so much peace after that conversation, going to take a nap. Nap was peaceful, the best nap I've had in a minute. Waking up in straight heaviness, suicidal ideation, crying. And, I called my best friend Jazz, and, just heaviness all over me. And literally after talking to her, it just went away. And I was like, what? And this is December 31st, y'all. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? What in the world is going on? What is going on? And so, literally once January the 1st hit, y'all, I just felt oh my goodness, something's changing. Even with reason I cut my hair because I just felt like I haven't been myself. And me revealing me, is cutting my hair. This is who I want to look like all the time. You can't really see the red. It's fading a little bit because my hair is growing out. But me having red hair and shaving it like that, I've never felt more like you're seeing the true Jasmine in a very long time. And so going back to this prophetic mission, I don't know what it was about January 1st in 2023 coming in. But it's like my whole life started to immediately change. Just being again around the people that I met in June and being around C3 and all of that. This past week, Yahuwah really confirmed to me that I had community and I had people who care and love for me. And that's not to say I don't have people here who care, but for the longest, as these 3 years has been going on, I have felt Dallas and where I've been shedding from me little by little by little by little. And I have prayed more prayers in the past couple of weeks to be released from law school. Law school was tough because spiritually I was seeing the spirits, the demons, the system. I felt like I was constantly drowning. This past not for more than 4 weeks, but a couple of months in law school has been the worst I've been mentally, and my mental health. Like days after my birthday, I hit like a brick wall. I finally just broke down and I hit a brick wall, and I thought it was PMDD, and my counselor was like, no, you just finally burned out. Because again, I'm running Empower You, I'm going to law school, I'm doing all of these things at the same time because you will call me to all of these things, but it was also I wasn't using the wisdom, and more as I was afraid that one, I was going to fail at all of these things, which I was already failing at all. Let me not say failing. I wasn't giving 100% to all of these things, but also at the same time, there was a lot of again, I'm in a marriage process. I am, and spiritually talking about in the marriage process, him having me going through refinement to accept love back into my life. I'm running Empower You. I'm going to law school, and what else was I doing? Oh, speaking, trying to start back speaking, all of these different things. So I have 4 things that's going on, and I feel like I'm drowning in 3 out of the 4, right? And so, and again, just everything being spiritually heavy, being a prophet, my life was just overwhelmed with, Yahuwah, you want me to do all of these things, but I am drowning. And I, like I said, I've prayed so many prayers in the past couple of months of just release me. Just release me. I don't want to do any of this anymore. Just release me. And so with just coming back from New York on this 3rd prophetic mission, I finally felt released. And I didn't understand why, because I'm dang, I've been praying this for a long time. Please just release me. But I finally felt released. But I would say before I went on this prophetic mission, after having a counseling session and just talking to Yahuwah, I decided to close down Empower You. So if it's not in my bio or you've seen things, he just told me to close it down. And that was a grieving point because I've said earlier, for the past 3 years, it has been my saving grace of this is why I am going to be obedient. It was my guiding light, right? So to have to close it down was okay, even though I felt the relief, I was just okay, what do I do? And it's not, and I will say it's not closed down forever. It's right now, it's like me giving it back to Yahuwah. And so coming off of this trip, let me go back a little bit. So going into this trip, I Empower You was closed down. I've been shutting everything down, all of that. So and with starting the 180 open conversations, that's when Yahuwah started reminding me of you need to speak, you need to use your gift of your voice, you need to go out here and speak. So that, as y'all have seen, I've been shifting to that. And so coming off of this prophetic trip, again, seeing my community in New York and being oh my goodness, I wish I could stay here and live forever, because I was telling my best friends, every time I go, it feels like home now. Dallas has been feeling dead for a long time. It has been just I've just been wanting to be released from where I'm at, moving out, all of that different things. It's just been feeling like an old skin was shedding off, right? And so as I was going through that, I'm trying to think where I'm at in my testimony right now. Oh, New York. So I got back from New York this past Wednesday, and I was on the plane, and something had been telling, like I said, going to law school completely, I've never had anxiety so much. My mental health was completely wrecked this past year. I had a breaking point. And I remember, and so I was already coming from the last semester on academic probation. So I knew like that pressure of like, I have to make a certain GPA, to stay in was on me. Literally anxiety, like it like my mental health was probably the worst it's ever been. And so I like going into final exams, everything just felt like it was closing. Everything felt like it was ending. And I was like, so spiritually, I was already preparing myself of if I can't come back, like at least I went out fighting, because like leaving those exams too, I had just completely given up. I was like, my mental health was so bad a couple of weeks ago, that like I just stopped fighting. And which, if you know me spiritually, physically, like I just don't give. I'm very determined. I don't give up. I just laid down. Like I stopped fighting. I was like, the spirits win. I've been warring this hope for a year and a half now. I'm done. Like, you know. And it was at the very end that Yahuwah was like, hey bro, I'm gonna need you to get up, because I need you to like one last fight. I need you one last fight this out. And so I did. And so going back, I'm leaving New York, and I'm on the plane. We're descending into Dallas. And someone was like, you know, let me just check my grades so I don't have anxiety and all of that. And I checked my grades and found out that I have been academically dismissed from law school. And it's one of those, I had a whole panic attack on the plane. But it was one of those things, like I said, upon leaving, I knew, and I took the time, like I found out Wednesday, but I have just been taking the time to like grieve that. Low key, I'm happy. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. It's definitely hard, because for me, I've always been a high achiever my whole life. I have always people pleased to be a high achiever. And so the first thought that led me to a panic attack was, what am I going to do? Not because of myself and that, because I'm happy now because he has released me from all of this. But what am I going to do because of how everybody else is going to think of me? And so, today is just like me letting myself go, to pleasing everyone, to just moving on to my new beginning. When I found out the news, it's more as like myself divided. My flesh completely had the panic attack, and my spirit has never been so calm in my entire life. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm finally free. And I would say, I don't know when Yahuwah is going to call me back to it. I do have the opportunity to go. It's not like, oh, you're doomed forever. Like, I have the opportunity to go back. I could go back now. I could go back whenever a school wants me to. It just depends on when I want to, or I feel led to go back. And there's definitely moments where I could have kept fighting, but like I said, for me, I've never been mentally more just down. Everybody around me was like, Jasmine, you're not happy. Like the closest people to me, they saw how miserable I was. They saw mentally how I was deteriorating. And so that's what I was like, even though I had a panic attack more for my box of people pleasing was being crashed and broken, spiritually, I've never been more at peace. Shortly after that, when I was in New York, I would say for a while now, I've known that Yahuwah was calling me to move to New York, but I didn't know when exactly or all of these different things. And so when I was in New York, and I'm telling everybody at C3 and my friends and all of that, they're like, oh yeah, I'm moving this year, because I did know that my only thing that was stopping me was I don't know when I'm moving because of school. So when I found that out, like I was like I said, low-key happy. I was like, oh my goodness, like yes, like I can move, but it's also terrifying because I found out I'm moving way sooner than what I thought. So that's like where I've been in the past couple of days. And so yeah, that's my testimony of where, like, if you're like, Jasmine, what have you been through for the past 3 years? Why, like, what have you been through for the, like, this week? That's what I've been through. One, grieving and processing that, like, I'm not in law school anymore. I did feel like a failure, and my mom has constantly had to remind me that I did not fail. I knew I went out fighting because I was ready to lay down and let every part of this system and spiritually what I was seeing just win. And I went out fighting so hard for myself that I was like, I walked out of that test so proud because I was like, mentally and spiritually, I laid down, and just a couple of days ago, I got up and decided I'm going to fight, like, excuse my language, but fight like hell for myself, because if there's anything I know how to do in this world, and what I've been doing for the past 3 years, I know how to go into warfare. I know how to fight for myself, and I know how not to lay down. That's not me. And I fought. I fought. I feel the tears coming on because when I say these past 3 years have literally been me fighting for Jasmine. Fighting not just what I added on to it, but fighting from things from generations of people that I didn't know, that I never knew of, that I was born into. And for the first time in my life, I feel like that I have won. I know I have won many battles over this time, but finally being released from law school, and yes, I didn't make GPA and all of that stuff, and like I said, it's on me. But like I said, I feel like I'm so at peace to finally be released. I'm so at peace to finally move on and actually be going to New York in a couple of months. I just feel so at peace for the first time in my life. And I feel like Jasmine finally has control over her life. And not just control, because I would say the difficult part about all of this is for the past 3.5 years, like when I started running, I did not know that I was making a decision to slowly give up control of my life to Yahuwah. And that is like what I've been doing. For the past 3.5 years, I have not had control. And even now to this moment, I had to realize, like, law school, Empower You, speaking, being in a marriage / letting love back into my life process, everything for the past 3 years that was added onto me, I did not ask for. I didn't ask to go to law school. I didn't ask to start dating and go through a love process. I didn't ask to start Empower You. I didn't ask to start. I didn't even know I was going to be a speaker. I didn't ask to do any of these things. All of these things were like, Jasmine, I need you to be obedient to this, and I need you to do this. Being a prophet, I didn't ask for any of it. Like, all of it was like, I need you to do this, and I need you to be obedient to it. And for the past 3 years, I've just been saying yes over and over and over, going through the daily struggles, going through the refinement, going through the fasting. And it was hard on Wednesday finding out that you're not in law school, not because of I'm not in law school, but it was a breaking point of I have given everything of myself for the past 3 years. I have sacrificed I have made no income. I have stayed put. I have sacrificed. I have been held down. I have been bound to the refinement of Yahuwah, and it felt as if everything had been taken out from under me. I don't have my business anymore. I'm not in law school anymore. And I have completely been stripped bare for the sake of kingdom work. The only thing, this feels like a rock bottom, but it's like the flat, like I've reached the summit of the mountain and it's all leveled out, and he's like, it's time to start over. It's time to fly off of level ground. And so that's where I'm at right now. The only thing that I have, well, first I will say every aspect of my life right now is because Yahuwah has put it there. There is nothing in my life that I'm doing because I put it there. And I've had to realize, just as much as he gives it, he takes it away in the seasons he needs to take it away, and he gives it in the season he needs to give. And like I said, I'm completely at peace. I'm completely at peace. It's a daily struggle to not let my mind think I'm not good enough, or that the people pleasing aspect. But the more that I tackle that, and the more that I talk it through with my mom and friends, they have all confirmed that, like, Jasmine, it's time for you to go. It's time for me to fly. And so as I go through this next phase of life, with moving to New York, and literally the only thing I have left, what he's actually been telling me to do for a very long time, is speaking and doing the 180 and world changers and all that stuff. I say, I have moments now, especially this past week, where I see my future. I see where I have time to content create, because I want to produce and I want to direct, and these are things that I have scrolled through social media and longed for and thought about, but I was like, oh, Yahuwah, you have me bound to this. You have me in this. You have me in law school. You have me in Empower You right now. Like, this is what I want to do. And so I can say that with me sharing my testimony today, I will be able to look back on this, and that you are a witness today that today I just freed myself. Just as much as I get on here every week and people share their testimonies, me sharing my testimony today was me freeing myself from everybody's opinion that I've held in the past couple of years, all the things that I've went through in my childhood, the past 3 years of sacrifice, this past year of just being bound to everything that Yahuwah was calling me to do. Even though I know I was released, today is me setting me free. And I have never been more happier that this moment has come, that I don't have to be bound anymore, that I've never been bound, because Yahushua Christ broke all of that. But this is the start to my new beginning. And when I say I'm happy. I feel the love entering back in. I feel myself coming back into me. I'm thinking about things and activities that I wanted to do as a child, that I'm like, I can finally do now. I can finally do all these things. I'm moving, I'm finally being released from this place that I have fasted and prayed to be released from, this, from Dallas and all of these things. I'm finally moving on to my new beginning. And, the Release and Empower You, the not getting back into law school, was literally Yahuwah just removing everything to say, this is where you need to be. You need to be in New York. Every prophetic trip that I took to New York, I realized now, was the planting of a root, so that when I go back now, I have a firm foundation. I have a community there. I have a firm foundation. If they're rewatching it, hey y'all, I have a firm foundation. I have a community there. I'm solid. I have such a solid foundation. Like, I see it. And like, I'm not moving into a place where, like you said, you go to the big city, you're lost and you have to find your way. I'm like, he's been doing this the whole time. He literally sent me like months ago to establish a firm foundation without me knowing. So yeah, like, yeah. I am finally free. And, I am glad that I said yes to doing the 180. I'm so glad that I could finally share my full testimony. And like I said, there is more that he was like, don't you touch on that. But what I can say is that I'm happy. I I'm so happy. Am I grieving? Yes. I'm grieving because there's so much that I have sacrificed, and I'm like, did I waste everything? But no, it all went, like, I see now that opportunities have come, and the more that I start speaking, even right now speaking to you today, is me taking a step to saying, like, my purpose is in using my voice to change this world. No matter how he directs me to do it, like, my voice, my gifts is how I'm going to change this world. And wherever he takes me in this new beginning, is wherever he takes me. Wherever he leads me to be in New York and outside the country and everything is where he leads me to be. The way that the 180 grows, World Changers grows, my ministry and everything grows. It's just how it is. But I'm at peace with that. And I know that this is the launching ground. And open conversation. Wherever he leads me to do an open conversation, that's where he leads me. But I can say, this is Jasmine Fain. This is me. I am so at peace. I am so comfortable. I am so excited for this new beginning. I am so excited to finally be like I said, to be released. And yeah, so if I could say one thing to anybody who is going through the same thing, whether you're watching this now or years to come, is continue to be obedient no matter what the world is telling you, no matter what everybody else is telling you, and realize that you don't have to please everybody. You can live outside the box of society. That's the lesson I had to learn, and that I'm still chipping away at every single day. But know that you are hearing correctly. You are hearing Yahuwah's voice correctly. You are hearing your purpose correctly. Just because a stepping stone, or you have worked on a stepping stone, it may not be the final step. He probably, if he gave you a promise to it, he's probably going to bring it back, to be honest. But just know that everything has been worth it. There's nothing in these past 3 years that I look back on, and say, dang, to become the person, the prophet, the world changer, the speaker, the founder that Yahuwah needed me to be. I would not be here on the flat level of the summit peak of this mountaintop, ready to literally jump off and just ride on the wings of Yahuwah, if I did not climb that mountain, if I didn't go through the rocky terrain, if I didn't feel the wind pushing me back, if I didn't just be obedient. Like I said, everything in my life is just controlled by Yahuwah at this point. I don't know when he's going to bring law school back. I don't know when he's going to bring Empower You back. But what I do know is that you're looking at me for the first time in my life. And I'm excited. I'm excited to go on this journey with you. I feel so free. And for those of you who are going through the same thing, please know that you can always reach out to me. You can rewatch this testimony. You can do all of those things, but that I am a resource, especially for those who are entrepreneurs by purpose, by calling. For those of you, not just entrepreneurs, who are feeling led, whether you are, like, I had many touch points, feeling led at a junior high age, and going through the battles of feeling like you're not enough. Whether you're a college student, and that's where I started the idea of Empower You, and feeling getting called, and you're like, I feel like I'm being called, but I want to please everybody else. And whether you're where I was at just a week ago of, I've been called to so many things. Like, am I a failure because of this? No. And if you're at any of those points, I say this now, please, 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 first and foremost, reach out to Yahuwah. But please feel free to reach out to me. Please feel free to DM me. Please feel free to confess those things. Whether you went through the same addictions of pornography and masturbation as I did, whether you went through abuse in college, verbal abuse, relationship abuse, whether you just felt like you weren't enough, and whether you're just trying to find your purpose, please, 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 if you feel like that Yahuwah is calling you to reach out to me, to reach out to anybody that is going through the same things, please know that I am always a voice. I am always a resource that you can just have comfort in. Like I feel like now that in my new beginning, what I've been seeing is like I'm that drill sergeant boot camp person that is to walk beside you. I've been through everything. He's given me all the lessons. I have all the stuff to be like, if you just need somebody to literally walk hand in hand with you. And I will tell you, I am that boot camp sergeant, like for real. I'm that military captain. I'm not going to go easy on you, but I'm here to walk hand in hand with you to make sure you build a purpose-based business, life, career journey. That is what I'm here for. I'm here to make sure that you accept the yes to that purpose, and that you understand that no matter what happens throughout this journey, you're not crazy. You are hearing correctly. You are doing this because of your obedience to our Father. And right now, I just want to pray over myself, pray over for those of you who are watching this now or years to come, that we are going to get there. I'm a living witness that we are going to get there, that new beginnings do come. I am a living witness to testify to you today that I'm living in my new beginning. You are seeing a completely new person, and I'm just getting started. Like I say, I'm so excited, but I'm just getting started. But I just want to pray over us right now. Just as every week, excuse me, at the end I release all my gifts, and as an army, we do that for one another. I just want to do that for myself today, because today is my releasing, okay? Yahuwah Zawawaf, we thank you. We thank you, Father, for who you are and who you've created us to be. I thank you today that there is a host of armies of people here on earth and people here in heaven who support me today as you release me into my promised land, as you release me to go forth into the new land. I thank you that this moment has come for myself. I thank you that through every trial and tribulation, every act of obedience, that it has not gone worthless in your sight. I thank you for the impact that will be made on this platform in my life. And as I'm praying, the reason why I just paused is because you were talking to me and he just released me. And so, yeah. And as I've just been released, Yahuwah, I just pray that you allow me as a vessel, as your vessel, to do the same for other people. That you understand that this is not my voice, but it's your voice. This is not my purpose, but this is your purpose, Yahuwah. And as you have led me through this journey into this point, that you allow me to use this testimony, to use my voice, to use my gifts, to use my sight, my vision, to literally do the same for other people, not for the sake of my own benefit, but for your kingdom. And I just thank you. All in your Son, Yahushua Mashiach, Jesus Christ's name, I humbly pray. Hallelujah and amen. Well, guys, that's it. That is it. that's it. I feel like I need to go back to reading our values. I always end with our values. This is the 180, guys. This is my testimony. This is the 180. And I appreciate it so much for those of you who watched today, who rewatched, because I don't think you understand how freeing that was for me. To hear Yahuwah release me. Thank you for being here tonight and allowing me to do that for myself. And as we move on in the 180, like I always restate the values, I want you to remember that on this show, everything is Yahuwah sent. I wouldn't be on here speaking tonight if it wasn't Yahuwah sent and he didn't want me. If he did not, or did, I don't know what I'm trying to say at this point. My brain is frazzled. But if he didn't want me to be on here, there we go. Everyone is Yahuwah sent on this show. When I say my life is completely controlled by Yahuwah, so like the 180, open conversation, everything on this show is Yahuwah sent. So if someone's on here, it's Yahuwah sent. 2, always keep an open mind. We don't know each other's experiences, what we've been through, but always keep an open mind. When you keep an open mind, you keep an open heart. Remember that. And then 3, how will you change your perspective of another person, of yourself, when you realize that their story, my testimony, my story is an addition to the books of the Bible. And that through this testimony, what you heard of my life tonight, through somebody else's testimony, that it is Yahuwah still writing. And guys, that is my 180. That is my release. That is my freedom. That is everything that I've been through. That is my testimony to testify how Yahuwah has not only kept me, but how Yahuwah has literally just given me a new beginning. And I thank y'all for that. If you have any questions, you can always DM me. Like I tell people, talk to Yahuwah first. If it's like really, like you're like, oh, no, like spiritual matter, like always talk to Yahuwah first. Always talk to you first. But definitely if you have any questions about my testimony, what I went through, again, I will stress this so much. If you are needing help, if it's dire help, if it's immediate help, please contact a counselor or a hotline. I don't have the hotline numbers right now, but I have been there. Please contact a counselor or the hotline. Like I said, always take everything to Yahuwah. But if there's things that you heard in my testimony and you're like, Jasmine, like, let's talk about this because I'm going through the same thing. I am always here. I'm always a warrior in arms. I'm always just, for like, my job now as a speaker is to make sure you enter fully into your purpose, is to make sure that you become a world changer like I'm a world changer. And because we all are world changers if we're here on this earth. And, yeah, that's my job now. That's my job, is to speak life into you and to make sure you have every resource that you need. Like I said, because I've been down the entrepreneurial route, especially as purpose-based business builders, people who are trying to build for the kingdom in that arena, making sure that you are making the social impact that you need to make to literally provide kingdom solutions, but also for those who just need to figure out, I'm being obedient to my purpose. What do I do? What steps do I take? Or I'm trying to be obedient to my purpose, but I have generational curses that I'm dealing with, or maybe I don't know I'm dealing with generational curses. I am here for all of that. At any point of main touch points for me when I saw those things is like when you're in junior high, when you're in college, when you're in your adulthood, your young 20s, 30s, and you're trying to figure everything out. If you're in those age ranges, please, not just age ranges, but those stages of life, know that you can always reach out and come speak to me, because that's my job now. That's my kingdom job. That's what I do now. Okay. And, we are building world changers over here. I will preface that at the end of this, for my new beginning, for the world changers, we are building world changers over here. I am like your warrior in arms. I'm here to push you. I'm here to make sure that you stay alive in the midst of this, because it is very hard to stay alive and not give up hope. I'm here to make sure that kingdom business gets done for such a time as this. And if I have to literally carry you on my back to make sure that you build another brick, that there's more workers out here going down the right path. Thank you, Poppy. Going down the right path to make sure that we all get to build, that we are building this kingdom, that we all get to the end of this. I will go to the depth of it to do it. That's why I'm here. And so I may be tough on y'all at times. I may sound like a complete drill sergeant, but it's also understanding that for such a time as this, you are here, and that there is nothing on this earth that is going to take you away from that. Christ already completed it all for you, and we just need someone to literally walk hand in hand with us. And so, yeah, that is the 180 for today. I thank you for joining me. Rewatch and rewatch the other people's testimonies too. Share it, like it, comment. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and let's get to this new beginning. Bye.